What would you say to people? I feel like it's lifted a little bit. It's not as common, but there's still sort of a negative connotation to like having to see a therapist or admitting that you struggle with some of these issues. What would you say to that?
I think everyone walking the face of this earth should see a therapist. Like, people think that you have to have some sort of severe mental illness, and that's just absolutely not the case. Most of my clients are very high functioning, very successful people I'd probably be like friends with, if they weren't my clients. And so I think it's just to normalize it that like there's room for growth for everyone. And throughout our entire lives, right? We never sort of hit a finish line where we're like, okay, I'm good, I'm done. At least I hope not. People who want to continue learning about themselves and becoming the best versions of themselves and just kind of leading the best lives that they can. Like, there's no harm in having somebody assist you with that if you don't have all the tools or resources to do that on your own.
You kind of answer what I was going to ask you next, but so you would recommend, or I guess we'll say it this way: how often do you recommend someone check in if they're like, "Well, I don't really feel like I'm struggling with anything."
Mhm.
How often should that person be speaking to a therapist to maybe help prevent in case or when things? I feel like there's always going to be something when something happens.
Yeah, that's usually what brings somebody in, right? Is like
Mhm.
when there's a crisis or, something that feels beyond the scope of what they can cope with at the
Yeah.
moment. I mean, I think a it can be helpful to have that space to vent, like you said, to someone that is just completely objective and non-judgmental and can see things, can see the blind spots that maybe you can't see. Most of us have friends and family that are supportive that we can talk to, but they're not going to see things through the same lens as a therapist would because they have some sort of emotional attachment to you. Whereas a therapist can really be more objective and kind of look for patterns in terms of how things are happening or how you're living your life, and then really kind of pull in those blind spots and maybe identify some of those belief systems, those operating systems that are running there.
Yeah. And I think, like I know for me, we sought out before we got married a premarital counselor,
Mhm.
and it was recommended by someone in my church. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. You're about to join everything with this person.
Mhm.
It sounded like something that was good to do, whether you were having issues or not. Some of the tools that I learned through counseling, I was able to actually help, like, provide those same tools to other people that were going through serious, like,
Mhm.
more serious things, you know what I mean? Like, I've had people close to me that were struggling really bad with anxiety and depression, like, "I can't get out of bed, I'm
Yeah.
scared to leave my house," sort of thing, and I kind of remember some of the tips that the therapist was telling us, and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't need it or use it in that moment, but I now remember these tools that she told me, and I'm able to share that and, help someone else." And, when I have kids, I wanna know these tools,
Yeah.
like, when I heard about the, attachments, I was, like, so intrigued. I'm like, "I wanna learn this because you never know what kinda kid you're gonna have,"
Yeah.
right? It doesn't mean that just because you're one way, they're gonna come out just like you, so now I need to learn what and I don't wanna, like, without realizing it, continue the same patterns and pass down that same trauma.